Welcome, Samantha. How are you today?
Thank you, Dr. Tiffany. I am doing well. I am loving life.
Wonderful. Great. I'm so happy that you could join me today. And so this interview is really special in the whole series that we're doing because you and I are collaborating on this project together. And I know a lot about you and your work, but I'm so excited to talk with folks about more about what it is that you do and how we came together to collaborate on this. We met a few years back in a peer coaching program and
Right.
just really connected back then around Black women's self-care. And I remember saying to you at the end of our work together that, you know what, I want to collaborate with you
Yeah.
at some point. And so we stay connected, and here we are doing this amazing work.
Yeah. It's been really exciting, especially the way we met. And for everyone, she was my coach. So I think that was what I really love is that having a Black woman to be in this space where they understand the nuances of what it is, what it means to be a Black woman, to be in this wellness space, not only as a therapist, but as a coach, and then now as a collaborator, and I think as a friend too. I think
Right.
that it's important to have this type of representation and to be able to expand in this way and to bring this message to Black women to let them know there is support.
Yes.
We're not a monolith.
No.
We can support one another, encourage one another, hold each other accountable in a loving, kind way so that we all grow and that we evolve into the women that we know we're designed to be.
That's right. Yes, I love it. And that's one of the things I really love about coaching is that there's so many ways in which we can support each other in
Mm.
this coaching journey, right? We worked together, right? And we can also collaborate, support each other's businesses. So there's ways in which in that the therapy space, we can't necessarily do that, but in coaching, there's so many options and ways to support each other individually and collectively. And so I love that piece.
Yeah,
All
same,
right.
same.
All right. So, Samantha, tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do and how long you've been doing it. Fill us in on all the details.
Okay. I'm Samantha Gregory, also known as a self-care alchemist and the founder of the School of Self-Devotion. I also run the Self-Care Oasis podcast and newsletter over on Substack. It's been an amazing experience. And I've been doing this for about 2.5, almost 3 years in this
Mhm.
capacity, but I've always been serving women, specifically initially single moms because I was a single mom. And I started moving into telling my story about how I went through burnout and how I needed to get more balance. I needed to become radically selfish so that I could recover myself because I had lost myself in relationships and parenting, in my career and everything. And I was chronically stressed that led to burnout and led to a diagnosis of premature ovarian failure at 33.
Wow.
So it was very early. And so I just began this journey of how do I come back to myself? But first it was all about managing symptoms. But then I realized, okay, what's at the root of this? There's an underlying reason why this is happening to me right now. Having a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old, that was very hard to do that. So I decided to go down a rabbit hole of understanding the underlying reason for my symptoms. And
Yeah.
that's when I realized, okay, you've been everything to everyone else, and now it's time for you to focus on you. And that's when radical selfishness came into play for me, just to triage my life. And then radical self-care became the foundation for my life back then. And now I'm talking about self-devotion, and I love it.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you used a couple of terms that really spoke to me. Radical selfishness, radical
Mhm.
self-care. Say more. I was going to ask you, what does self-care mean to you? But please tell us more about those terms.
Yeah, so radical selfishness, especially for a person who's been a people pleaser, over functioning, overachiever, everyone
Mm.
is always first ahead of them because that's how I grew up from a cultural and religious standpoint. And as a woman who's given herself away, she doesn't really have a foundation of meanness, centeredness, where it's healthy and thriving. So
Oh.
I had to come to the place where I stopped giving so much out away and started holding more for myself and giving myself the care and attention that I was giving everyone else. I had to start saying no. So that's where my boundaries started to become more solid. And as people kept asking and expecting me to behave the way I had been behaving before, I started disappointing a lot of people. I started embracing selfishness,
Yeah.
self-centeredness because I needed to do it for my health. And I started to recognize the amount of stress I was under after the diagnosis and really sitting with myself and thinking, like, what? If I continue down this path, and now that I've had this diagnosis, it early menopause is like regular menopause can lead to bone density issues, heart issues, stroke. I'm like, I can't let stress kill me, and I can't let these people
Oh,
kill me. So
interesting.
that's why I had to decide to go swing all the way over to the left of the pendulum of my life and become radically selfish so that I
Wow.
can find my way back into center and balance. So
Yes.
that's what it means to me. That's why I use that term. And then I really started to build my self-care practices from there.
Wow. Wow. So really powerful story about what happens when we are not taking care of ourselves. And
Yeah.
even beyond that, not just not taking care of ourselves, but like taking so much care of everyone else, giving so much of ourselves that our
Yeah.
bodies, our spirits, our minds just start breaking down, start
Yes.
shutting down, right? Having all sorts of issues and concerns because we're not
Mhm.
attending to ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then it feels radical. It feels like just something just out there for us to pause and take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And not only did I have to really focus more on myself and my well-being, I had to release all the things that were the catalyst for that imbalance in my life. So that included a belief system that said you have to give yourself away and be self-sacrificing. That included letting some people go, relationships go. It included changing my whole city. I moved away from the city that I was in and just really kind of sequestering myself from the people and circumstances that was causing the issue or that I was allowing to cause the issue. Because when you're caught up in those systems, it's hard to get out of them because if you stay around them and you just get sucked right back into the same behavior.
Wow. So I think you're already speaking to this, right? But what are some of the challenges and the obstacles for Black women in particular to practice that self-care and that radical selfishness?
The obstacles for me and what I've seen for other women is the belief system that if I am not performing, if
Mm,
I'm not pleasing, then I am not acceptable. There's no validation there, there's no approval. I get
mm,
talked about, I get ostracized, I am made to feel like I'm wrong, and most times you're gaslit. So many things happen. And because we want belonging, and if we've had an abandonment wound, that just
mm,
exacerbates everything that you try to do for yourself because again you get sucked back into it because you really want to be a part of a community, you want to be a part of the family, you want to be a part of something, so you're not just out here alone in the world with no obvious options
mm.
and no other community where that you can tap into.
Wow. Okay. And it sounds like part of it might be due to our sense of worth
Yes.
and starting to define ourselves based on our productivity or what
Hmm.
we do for others or what they expect of us.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's really systemic and it's generational, is generation to generation. So our mothers and our mothers' mothers have been given the same script and
Mm,
narrative that we are only useful if we are performing some type of labor, if we are caretaking, if we are sacrificing our very life and our health for the good of the community or the family or the relationship. And so we getting pulling ourselves out of that feels like betrayal in a sense. And
yeah.
so
Wow.
everyone who has gone on this journey has recognized, okay, mama, family, friends, cousins, they might be a little mad at me because I am not performing in the way that they expect me to. And they
Right.
are calling me selfish because the word selfish has been weaponized against
Mm,
us. And it feels wrong. It feels we are committing the unpardonable sin, as it were.
hmm. Wow. Okay. All right. So self-care is selfish. We know, you and I know that's not true, but there are a lot of sort of misconceptions and misunderstandings about what self-care is, about what it looks like, how to practice it. So can you speak to that?
Self-care, when you're in a recovery process, looks, and I'm differentiating between recovery and maintenance. So the
Okay.
recovery process looks like I take naps.
Yeah.
I treat myself to a massage or the spa or any number of things that is going to give me a sense of being cared for. For a lot of people, that's the external things that we fall into or we're told. And I call it, in reality, that's more pampering. We pamper ourselves in
Yeah.
order to soothe ourselves so that we feel like we can reconnect with ourselves in a way that we've never been able to do before. So I think that's when the self-care practices start becoming more intentional and
Mhm.
people began to give themselves that time and that space to focus solely on themselves and their mental, physical, emotional care. So, yeah, that's what self care is for people who are coming out of that people pleasing role, coming out of that, got to
Yeah.
give validation and approval from everyone else, and
Yeah.
starting to focus on radical selfishness.
And I love how you talked about the two stages, right?
Mhm.
The recovery phase and then the maintenance phase.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
because it's
Mhm.
very different. Because I think when you get into self-care practices, that
Mhm.
is not sustainable if you haven't made changes mentally, if you haven't made changes somatically, and your body is still in fight or flight, freeze, fawn mode. And you can do the practices, but if your whole body is still in that, let's begin the healing process, you can
Mhm.
still slip back into the old habits. You can
Yeah.
forget that you want to do these self-care practices. It becomes starts to become a burden. It's another thing to add to the to-do list. It's harder to maintain and sustain because you don't have a good foundation for it. And that's where the maintenance comes in, creating a good foundation for your self-care practices built
Yeah.
on what I now call self-devotion. So
Okay.
it is my well-being and my care is priority, is paramount. So that means I'm going to heal, I'm going to get therapy, I'm going to journal, I'm going to do my shadow work, I'm going to focus on what's best for me. And
Yeah.
it's deprogramming and getting out of that brainwashed state that you've been in for years.
Yeah.
And it takes time to really get to that space where you feel enough, your nervous system has finally settled. And
Mhm.
now you can say, okay, I'm devoted to myself and my happiness and my joy. And
Wow.
so once you have that, then the self-care practices become just a natural, normal thing. And it's not
Yeah.
about sustaining them, it's about maintaining them because it's now built on self-devotion.
Self-devotion. I
Yeah.
love that. Hey, all right. So you have a resource for us for the Black Women Self-Care Bundle that will help us with this. So tell us about your resource and how it will help us get to that space of self-devotion.
Yeah, so I'm focusing on spiritual self-care. And so my resource is around centered around that. And it's about helping women who have been caught up in religious structures and strictures that
Mm.
pull them out of self-devotion, but it keeps them in self-sacrifice mode. It keeps them in is only pleasing to this higher entity or deity who says that if I'm not giving away my rights, myself, my body to this
Mm.
entity, this religion or whatever you're in,
Yeah.
then I'm wrong and that I'm going to go to hell. But my resource is all about giving women permission to re-examine that and
Okay.
to begin to create new spiritual practices so that they are no longer feeling guilt and shame when it comes to their life and their choices. Religion keeps us bound and keeps us
Mm.
guilty. So we're trying to move out of that. And the spiritual self-care is the part of you that can release that when you're ready, because it takes time, especially if you've
Yeah,
been in there for a while. You can,
sure.
but you must examine and see, is this harmful to me or is it helping me? And
Mhm.
if it's harmful, then what are the alternatives available to me? And so it is more or less an audit that I'm put together for women to ask themselves these questions, kind of
Yeah,
journal the responses. And a journal doesn't have to be written. You can do voice journaling, you can do other ways to unearth what your
yeah.
belief system has done to you instead of
Wow.
done for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's so it's a spiritual self-care audit that I'm sharing as a resource for everyone who has been feeling guilty about their religious background and leaving it, possibly changing it, shifting it, and becoming a different version of themselves spiritually.
Wow, that's very powerful.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
powerful. And looking at spiritual self-care and spiritual wellness is an important part of the conversation, right? Sometimes
absolutely,
we think about our physical health and well-being, or maybe our emotional, psychological well-being, but we forget that there are other aspects to wellness, right?
absolutely.
Spiritual, financial, environmental. There's a lot of other things for us to consider in our whole wellness. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think the from the spiritual standpoint, people
Mhm.
do forget about that and they overlook it, not realizing that is a core reason why you're in burnout. That's a core reason
Yes.
why you need to practice self-care is because of all the rules and regulations and the things that have been
Mhm.
put in place to control you
Yeah.
and make you lack self-trust is
Mhm.
the thing that makes you feel shame and guilt. It's the still small voice or the loud voice that says you're wrong, you're too much, and you shouldn't be doing that, and thou should not. And
Yeah.
that's not to say that I'm against religion, but I'm against religion being the thing that causes you extreme amounts of stress and that
Mhm.
keeps you in this self-sacrificing cycle versus allowing you to be an autonomous fully actualized human being who's on
Yeah.
this planet to experience joy and love and peace and everything that religion says you should have.
Yes, yes. Okay. And you also bring up two different points of entry into this conversation about spiritual wellness, right? So certainly if there's been some religious harm
Yeah.
done, then
Hmm.
there definitely is some healing that needs to happen in that area, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But also there's just how do we cultivate and grow our spiritual wellness as well? Right? That
Hmm.
may or may not be connected to a particular religion or religious practice. But how do we grow our spiritual wellness? So there's a lot
Hmm.
of ways in which we can enter into this conversation that I think are very important, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Spirituality could be connecting with nature,
Mhm.
meditation. There's so many different aspects and ways that we can practice spiritual wellness, but they are all connected with, again, us as whole people.
Absolutely. And I agree 100% because we are really spiritual beings having a
Sure.
human experience. And I think
Yeah.
if we don't cultivate and nurture that side of ourselves, we are missing a big chunk of life. We're missing out on really our power because that is where our power lies. And when it's been suppressed or repressed, if it's been set to the side or put in a box, then we miss a whole lot out of life
Yeah.
instead of embracing it and making it almost a central point of our lives.
Sure, sure. Wow. Okay. Wow. Thank you again for reminding us about this important area.
Sure.
Now, tell us, are there other things that you do, other services, other products that we need to know about?
Yes, in my other arm of my business, I call myself a tech wellness consultant. So I do technology support and consulting for wellness providers and other people who need that calm, calming experience and tech person to talk you off the ledge. I
Yeah.
enjoy technology. I enjoy guiding people through the process of selecting the right tools and systems that will help them make their business runs more smoothly and keep them out of
Wow.
the business burnouts because I think
Yeah.
that's a thing that we don't talk about enough either, especially as if you're a solopreneur, you have a small business. tech can drive you crazy. It can stress you out. And
Yeah.
so, as a tech wellness consultant, I help you to mitigate that and create a plan and a process and implementation plan so that you can select the right tools and systems for you and evaluate what you already have, fix some
Yeah.
things too.
Right.
Sometimes with a few clients, I've even talked to customer service for a tech problem that they've had because like, I don't
Wow.
know what to say to them.
It's a whole other
It
language.
is, it is. And so I've done that as well. And I have different packages, retainer packages where I can be your kind of on-call tech
Oh,
support or your consultant to help you make the
goodness.
decisions about for your business.
Yes. Oh, the stress that comes from technology, not knowing, being
Mm,
confused. Yeah, that can really, one, yeah, stress you out, and two, stall your
yes,
business.
absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of us are just like, just forget it. I just
Yeah.
not gonna do it, and then we can't grow.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm an educator as well. So I do tech education to kind of guide people through what does these tools do. And
Yes.
if you already have something, we can go through and we do a lot of screen shares and problem
Oh,
solving in that process. So I
okay.
really enjoy the education process as well. So because a lot of people blame themselves for not knowing what they don't know. I'm like,
Right,
how are you going to know unless you
right.
learn? I'm a when I used to be in corporate, I was an instructional designer, a technical writer, and a
Wow.
tech consultant. So yeah, that's the background. I've worked for Google, NASA, Verizon, Delta. A lot of Fortune 500 companies have trusted me with their systems
Wow.
and their education process. It's been
Yes.
great.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're hands-on
Oh
too
yeah.
when need be. So it's not like you
Mhm.
just send a set of instructions and then say, okay, figure it out. I've had those experiences and I'm like, I'm still
Mhm.
lost. I don't know what to do. But it sounds like you come in with, yes, with a very gentle and non-judging presence
Mhm.
and say, let's
Mhm.
let's do this together.
Yes, absolutely. I love that part of it. I think the most because being able to be the calm voice and the, like you said, non-judgmental guide, I
Yes.
see the calmness come over them because many people are like, I just want to throw the laptop out the window or at the wall.
Right.
And to see them calm down, and I'm just really very much, it's okay, everything's fine. And people, I'm sorry. No, it's okay. You don't have to be sorry. I'm here to support you and hold space for you and give you
Wow.
the support you need until we get it fixed. And if there's something that I can't do immediately, I'll go and
Yes.
research it and I come back and we get it fixed. Everybody's happy. Systems are running great.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So
Yeah.
spiritual wellness, tech wellness,
Yes.
you're our go-to.
Yes, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do people find you?
You can find me for Self-Care Oasis. You can find me on Substack at BLYSS.substack.com or just
Okay.
go to substack.com at Samantha Gregory. And I'm on YouTube, at Samantha Gregory. TikTok is at Miss Samantha Gregory. For the tech, blisstechsolutions.com, BLYSS techsolutions.com.
Wonderful. And we will definitely share all those links with folks. So if they didn't catch all that, we will get that information to them. And then you will be joining us on Friday, July 24th at noon Pacific time. So
Mhm.
hopefully folks can do the calculations for their time zone. Let's see here for our roundtable. So
Yes.
you and myself and the other self-care ambassadors will all come
Mhm.
together and just continue this conversation about the importance of self-care, radical selfishness for Black women. Look
Absolutely.
forward to that. And just before we wrap up, do you have any final words or anything that you would want to share to the women that are listening about this journey towards self-care and radical selfishness?
I would say that it starts with a decision. Healing, this journey is all about a decision that you make first because you are tired of being tired, basically.
Yeah.
And once you make that decision, then commit to the journey. And I think a
Mm,
lot of times people are afraid of the journey that it takes in order to come back home to yourself and to come back to your true self. But this is what it's all about. It's not about extracting anything, even though some things will fall away, but it
right.
is about reclaiming your life. It's about living in shameless bliss. It's about creating the lifestyle that works for you and not to make everyone else around you happy while you lose yourself and are depleted. So fill your own cup to overflow, and then everything else is going to be amazing for you. You just got to make a
Wow.
decision.
Yes. Wow. Thank you again so much. Look forward to seeing you on the 24th. And
Absolutely.
that's it for now.
Awesome. It's been great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.